Okay, so let's just start with that quote. Nocturnal, blood-sucking bucks. I mean, that sounds like it's pulled straight from a horror movie, right? But the crazy thing is, the creature it's talking about, it's totally real.
So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this incredible and honestly super misunderstood animal. We're talking about these so-called vampire deer and the real story behind those amazing things.
All right, let's just cut to the chase. The big question on everyone's mind, right? Are we talking about some kind of legend here? A spooky campfire story? Or do deer with actual fangs exist in the wild? Yup, they're 100% real. But here's the twist. Forget everything you think you know about vampires. Despite looking so fierce, these guys are complete herbivores. They're munching on grass, leaves, stuff like that. Those fangs, well, they have a completely different purpose. And honestly, it's way more interesting. So, first thing to know is that vampire deer isn't just one single animal. It's kind of like a nickname, right? It covers a bunch of different deer groups that have this ancient trait. They basically evolved these tusks instead of growing big antlers. So who are we talking about here? Well, you've got the Chinese water deer, the famous musk deer, the super shy tufted deer, and the muntjac, which people also call the barking deer. They're all unique in their own way, but they all share this incredible feature. For our purposes today, we're going to zoom in on the two big ones, the water deer and the musk deer. And here's something that might blow your mind. The musk deer isn't technically a true deer at all. It's in its own ancient family, Mashidae. The Chinese water deer, on the other hand, is a true deer, in the same family as elk and whitetails. And get this, neither of them have antlers. Instead, they both developed these incredible tusks for reasons that are probably not what you're thinking. Okay, so if they're not for hunting, then what's the deal with the fangs? Why have them? Well, it all comes down to evolution taking a different path. Think of it like a fork in the road. Both paths were trying to solve the same basic problem that antlers solve, just in a completely different way. Let's really think about this. Antlers, they're made of bone. They grow and then fall off every single year, which takes a ton of energy. Tusks? Totally different. They're actually modified canine teeth, and they just keep growing their whole lives. So you've got two different tools, but they're built for the exact same job. And what is that job? Simple. The fangs are weapons. The males use these super sharp tusks to fight each other for territory and for the chance to mate. It's the same old story of dominance you see all over the animal kingdom, just with a really, really cool and unique adaptation. But for the musk deer specifically, this story, it takes a really dark turn. And it's not because of anything they do, it's because of something they make. A substance that has made them world famous and also pushed them to the edge of extinction. And that substance is musk. There's this tiny gland on the male deer that produces one of the most valuable natural products on the planet. I mean, it's used in super high-end perfumes to make the scent last longer, and it's also a big deal in traditional medicine. It's incredibly sought after. And you know what happens when something is that valuable, right? It becomes dangerous. The crazy demand for musk has created this huge, relentless black market. Poaching has become the #1 threat to these animals. Their most amazing natural gift has turned into their biggest curse. I mean, look at the forest musk deer. This little guy is the smallest of the bunch, weighing less than a Jack Russell Terrier. They're super shy, keep to themselves, but they have this incredible secret weapon. To get away from predators, they can jump more than 2 meters, that's almost 7 feet, straight up. Sometimes they even land on tree branches to hide. How cool is that? But sadly, poaching isn't the only thing they have to worry about. Scientists are now realizing there's this whole web of other environmental problems pushing them closer and closer to the edge. It's a complicated story for sure, but it also has this completely unexpected twist. So, new research is showing us that these animals are extreme specialists. They can't just live anywhere. They need very specific conditions. We're talking high altitudes, really dense forests with a certain amount of tree cover, and they even prefer slopes that face south. Being a specialist like that is great when things are stable, but it also makes you incredibly vulnerable when things change. And yeah, when you're that specialized, even a small change to your home can be a total disaster. And right now, the musk deer's very specific habitat is getting squeezed from two different sides by two really powerful forces. Okay, so threat number one is competition with livestock. Now, they're not physically fighting over territory, but just the sheer number of domestic animals out there can completely strip the landscape of the plants that both of them need to eat. And then there's the second threat, which is even bigger: climate change. As the world warms up, that entire high-altitude ecosystem that they rely on, it's just starting to fall apart.
And the effect is, well, it's staggering. Just look at these maps. The one on the left shows their current home in green. Now look at the one on the right. That's the prediction for the future. The green area just collapses. It shrinks and shifts way up north. Climate change is quite literally pushing them right off the map.
So just when things are looking incredibly grim for the musk deer, the story takes another turn. Because the story of the other fanged deer we mentioned, the Chinese water deer, is one of the weirdest and most surprisingly hopeful conservation stories you will ever hear.
Get this. Way back in the 1890s, this duke in England imports a few Chinese water deer, basically just to have them on his fancy estate. Over the years, some of them escaped. And they didn't just survive, they thrived, creating a whole new wild population in the English countryside. Now, at the exact same time, back in their native China, the species was getting absolutely hammered by habitat loss. They were nearly wiped out. And that wild population in England, the one that started as a rich guy's hobby, it became this vital, completely accidental arc, an insurance policy that basically saved the species.
So all of this leaves us with a really fascinating thought, doesn't it? One of these species was saved by pure dumb luck. But for the others, like the musk deer, we now have the science. We understand exactly what's threatening them. So the real question is, can we actually use what we know in time to protect these incredible fanged wonders of the natural world?